Good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started this evening. For those in the room and online, welcome to this evening's town hall event. As we've been doing these over the last, I'd say year and a half, we've really been focusing on getting to know some of our departments, getting to know some of our new leadership here at the city, and tonight is no different. The purpose of our town halls is to inform, engage, and accomplish our city goals with our community members. We want these to be interactive where they can be. As we are seeing more and more people go to the online version of participating in these type of events, just want to alert those watching from home about ways that they can be interactive, engaging on this. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can send an email to townhall@meridiancity.org if you have any questions as we get to our presentations from our three directors who will be presenting tonight. Or if you'd prefer to do it more in the Zoom platform, you can log into meridiancity.org/live and click on View a Zoom, and then use the Zoom Q&A feature to submit any questions that you may have through this process. I'd like to think that we've gotten pretty adept at doing in-person and remote as a society. So hopefully we can continue that process this evening and have a dialogue if necessary. But if nothing else, we hope you walk away being more informed about the city of Meridian, some of the things that our departments do. And tonight is specifically going to be looking at things with two of our newest directors in our community development and our public works department. You'll also hear from our fire chief, who's just about 1 year on the job, and the process that they went through to develop the Meridian Fire Department's new strategic plan. So we're excited that you're here to join us. On behalf of myself, the members of the City Council, as well as our department directors who are in and around, welcome to tonight's town hall event. I don't want to belabor. This will only take as much time as it does, but I'm excited to let you hear tonight from, first up, Bruce Freckleton from our Community Development Department. Bruce is a longtime city employee. He's been with the city for 30 years. Before that, he was in the private sector. And Bruce is going to hopefully share with you information about what the Community Development Department does, because I think that's an important thing for the community to understand. You'll also get an opportunity to learn more about Bruce and who he is. When I brought forward Bruce's nomination last year, I want people to know that Bruce has vast experience. I think that that's what that 30 plus years of being involved in community development here in the city of Meridian. He has strong relationships throughout the community. Growing up, attending school here in the area, so he's seen the transformation of Meridian. But he was committed to be the vision for our community development department and the city of being a premier community to live, work, and raise a family. He's helped the community development department transform into its current business model, and I'm confident in his ability to continue these efforts to improve our service delivery and lead the team. So with that, I'd like to call Bruce Freckleton up to the podium and have him give you a little conversation about community development. Bruce?
Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us today, this evening. Those of you online and in the council chambers here. I do have a few slides that I put together. Am I operating those? Okay. Okay, so just a little bit of an introduction. This is what I was planning on covering tonight. Just as Robert mentioned, the change in our community development department leadership for this year, community development's vision, and our guiding principles at the City of Meridian. Then I'm going to share with you our organizational structure in community development, and then talk about our teams and how we handle applications when they come through our processes. And then I do have one project that I want to just show you just as a real life example. And this is one that I had personal experience in because it was a development that happened next door to me. So let's get going here. Okay, so as Robert mentioned, I was born and raised in the city of Boise. My wife was born and raised in Nampa, and so Meridian was the natural landing spot for us when we got married. I began in the field of land development, land surveying, and engineering when I was in junior in high school. As Robert mentioned, I worked 12 years in the private sector doing subdivision work. We also did some highway work, bridge work, that sort of thing. We moved to Meridian in 1985. We set our roots here and decided this is where we wanted to be to raise our family, and we've been here ever since. Been with the city for 30 years. As of July 1st, it'll be 30 years. I have always looked at Meridian as more than just a job. Working here has been an opportunity to invest in the community where we live and have a hand in the shaping and building of our community. For the past 17 years, I was the development services manager for community development. And development services is the building side of the house and land development. As Robert mentioned, I was appointed on December 21st as the new director of community development. I'm going the wrong way each time. Community development's vision. City of Meridian's Community Development Department is a premier team comprised of well-equipped, experienced staff leading the West in timely and quality community development services. You know, being here as long as I have, we've hired a lot of people, and I can tell you that we have the best staff, just top-notch people in their fields, very dedicated and committed to Meridian and to our vision. We promote continuous process improvement and new innovation in the way we do our jobs. We don't ever want to get stuck in a rut. We're always looking to improve how we do things. One of the things that we do in Meridian that is pretty rare is that we engage with our stakeholders in our community. We have a group that meets every other month. It's a group of developers and engineers that we get together and we talk about what's going right, what's going wrong, what can we do better. We really do want to hear from our stakeholders. We also attend the monthly Building Contractors Association meetings to do the same thing. We want to hear from the builders, especially right now where we've got supply chain issues. This has been hugely beneficial. When you got builders that can't get windows, they can't get shower enclosures, they can't get furnaces, that sort of thing. We've worked collectively with them to find innovative ways to keep their projects moving forward while they're waiting on those needed items. The City of Meridian has what we call the Meridian Way, which is our customer service, accountability, respect, and excellence. These are our care values that we all adhere to here at the city. The community development organizational structure. Basically, we have our planning division on the left side. We have development services on the right. Development services is the position that I left to assume my new role as director. The middle, we have permit technicians that handle our administrative processing. They do our building permits, they do planning related work, they do economic development related work, land development work, that sort of thing. The planning division serves as for most projects, the initial point of contact. Applicants will contact planning when they come in with an idea that, hey, I want to build this new subdivision, or we want to do a car wash, whatever the case may be. Planning is oftentimes the first contact. Their job is primarily, is to ensure that land use changes, and designs adhere to federal, state, and local laws, as well as our comprehensive plan, our specific area plans, and city codes. Land development, which is part of development services, we do the review of all public works infrastructure. So all the new sewer and water mains that go in the city is reviewed by this team of people. Then we have the building section, that's the other side of development services. And building's primary duty is to verify through plan review and inspection that the new structures that are built in the city are code compliant and safe for their occupants. Then we work with economic development team very closely. Economic development is housed in the mayor's office, but it's an integral part of the process. We oftentimes get communication through the Department of Commerce and different organizations, when there's a new business that is interested in locating in Meridian. Those contacts go through economic development, and then we get together as a team and we talk about, what can we do? Where do we have infrastructure, capacities for water and wastewater, those sorts of things. And so this next slide is kind of illustrates our team approach at the development process. Again, in this example, this would be like a commercial project where economic development would be the first contact. And then, I'm having a hard time reading that, it's small. As the project progresses through, you see how it brings in planning, and then it drops to the next level and brings in development services. And you go through getting your approvals, right up to getting building permit, inspections, occupancy permit, and you're in business. Then economic development comes back in at the end and does follow-up business retention visits through the mayor's office. The process, I just wanted to illustrate here a hearing level process for an application through the planning section. There's a lot of steps, but a project has to go through a lot of scrutiny when it comes through our process. An applicant will submit for a pre-application meeting. They'll come in, they'll sit down with staff, and we assemble a team of people of all disciplines to look at their application and give them guidance and direction on how they should proceed to be successful. The applicants then are required to post their property for a neighborhood meeting. They hold neighborhood meetings to bring in the adjacent property owners and provide their vision for their project to the neighbors. As I mentioned a little bit ago, the next slide I'm going to show you is an example of a project where I did get involved with as a citizen of Meridian, not as a city employee, but it was a development that happened adjacent to my house. And the thing that I want to stress is that there's many opportunities for public involvement in this process, whether it be neighborhood meetings or whether it be coming and testifying at a planning and zoning meeting or a city council meeting. And I would really encourage you to do that. It is very important to make sure that we hear from the citizens. So this project, as I mentioned, happened next to my house. It's about a 20-acre residential subdivision. It's in a medium density residential area on the future land use map. They came in, they wanted to zone as an R8 subdivision. All the subdivisions that surround it are R4, so a little bit larger lots. You know, their design and everything is good. There's really no problem with it, other than there wasn't much transition from the larger lots down to the R8 standard kind of lots. And so, you know, we went to the neighborhood meeting, we listened, they pitched it. A lot of the neighbors had the same concern. You know, you've got to have a little bit more transition in that density as you go into the subdivision. And so through the process, they did make changes. They increased the size of the lots on the perimeter on the east side and the south side, adjacent to the R4 subdivisions. And so it was a really good experience, a good process. You know, I don't often get the opportunity to be on that side of an issue. Usually I'm on the city side. And so everything worked out really well. It's a nice subdivision. And again, it took public involvement to get to that point. So that is what I have. I'm very happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. That subdivision is called Brenniger Prairie. It's north of Cherry Lane on 10 Mile Road, about the midsection line. Yes. Yes. It's the majority of it is being contacted by those that are interested. We do, as I mentioned, through the mayor's office, they do business retention visits. And so they are out in the community talking with our existing businesses. Oftentimes we'll find out through those visits that our businesses are wanting to expand, you know, and they can't fit in their current location. And so we will work with them on those.
Just to help, in the past, we have gone to places like large trade shows if there were specific type of businesses that we were looking to recruit to the complementary to other businesses. Over the last several years, we've strayed away from that approach, and it has been more working with people that are trying to relocate here, because we've seen such a large amount of outside businesses that want to locate here, whether it's because they're creating their Western office, or quite frankly, we have so many businesses currently that are already here that are expanding. It's been more working with them to help them grow their business here locally.
So her question was, when you drive by properties and you see the hearing notice signs, is that the only place you can find the information? Is that... Sure. Sure. The information is available online. It is on the city's website. Those signs are put up to notify the public that's driving by. We also send via US mail, we send out notifications to people within a certain radius of the property that is under consideration. But all of the agendas for Planning and Zoning Commission and Council are published on the website. So. So her question was, who do we consider our stakeholders? Our stakeholders would be, you know, our large developers that are developing in Meridian. home builders. It's the ones that have done a lot of work in Meridian. We're certainly open to anybody joining that group, but those are the ones who we have in the group right now. There's design consultants that are part of the group. There's engineers. There's major commercial developers. There's residential developers. Yeah. Designers, architects, engineers. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you again for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce. I am excited to see where community development goes next. And community development is its own unique animal in a lot of ways for the city. It's a service we provide for people that pay for the service to do the work. Whether it's people that need an inspection done, they pay for that inspection. If it's people that want to do a land use application, they pay for the land use application. So it is very different than the services we generally provide in police, fire, and parks, where we don't charge you when our police show up. We don't charge you when you go to the park to swing on the swings with your grandkids and whatnot. But if you want to do an application, you want to get a permit to be compliant, it is a pay for service. So it's a unique business model for the city, but it's important for us to ensure that we do have safe, well-designed neighborhoods and buildings that people want to occupy, whether it's businesses or individuals or otherwise. So thank you. Next up, we're going to hear from our Public Works Director, Lorelei McVeigh. You would be hard pressed to find someone who's more knowledgeable in the state of Idaho, dare I say, the Pacific Northwest and Western region than Lorelei about water and wastewater utility operations. She's one of the most learned people that I've met in my life, who's dedicated to improving herself, to improve those around her through what she learns. She recently received a master's degree in public administration for BSU, as well as obviously holds undergraduate degrees. With over 15 years of public works experience, she is the highest professionally licensed water wastewater operator in the state of Idaho. So there's the learned side of things, but she really cares about her people, and she cares about the products that they're responsible for delivering to the residents of Meridian. So with that, I'd like to invite Lorelei to come up. She will probably have a few more slides in true public works fashion to educate you about the vast work that they do within the department. Lorelei?
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks everybody for coming out. And like Bruce said, everybody that's online. So as the mayor mentioned, I'm relatively new in my position. So I've been in the director role for about 6 months now. Boy, does time go fast. But I have worked for the city for the last 13 years, primarily in their water and wastewater utilities. Moved to Idaho about 20 years ago and have been fortunate enough to call Meridian my hometown for the last 2 years. So really excited to get to share with you guys some details about public works, some accomplishments that we've achieved over the last year, and then some of our upcoming initiatives. So a little bit about what Public Works does in case you're unfamiliar. So our primary and largest functions are providing safe, reliable drinking water to the citizens, and then also collecting that water once it's used and treating it at our wastewater treatment plant to be discharged back into the environment. So that is what we primarily do in Public Works, and it takes a lot of people to accomplish that. However, we're also responsible for setting, maintaining, and planning city utility rates, so your water and sewer bills. We also plan for, design, and construct all of the city infrastructure projects. So similar to Bruce's team that's dealing with new development going in, our engineers plan and develop city-related water and wastewater projects. We're responsible for long-range master planning. So we have to look out on 10, 20-year horizons to make sure that we are putting in the right infrastructure to make sure that we can provide for residents now and into the future. We also oversee we're almost to 9,000 streetlights in the city. And we're also responsible for coordinating. We don't provide the trash and recycling service, but we coordinate that service on behalf of the city. We also coordinate the stormwater activities in the city. And we also coordinate all the maintenance, repair, and janitorial activities that happen in all the city buildings. So a pretty wide array of activities that our public works staff do. So some fun public works statistics. So this gives you a little bit of, to show you kind of the scope and scale of our operations. So we have 118 employees that work 24/7, 365. You don't stop providing water and wastewater service ever. Last year in 2021, we produced and delivered over 4 billion gallons of water. I tried to come up with some statistic or some way to conceptualize 4 billion gallons because that's a lot of water. We have close to 1,200 miles of pipe. So this one, I could come up with one. If you put the pipes end to end, it would go from Meridian all the way to Omaha, Nebraska. That's a lot of pipes that we take care of. We operate and maintain the city's most expensive asset. So the replacement value of all of the public works assets in the city is close to $650 million. That's a big responsibility. We currently have $46 million in capital projects that are currently underway this year alone. So it's a really impressive large-scale operation that I'm really proud to represent. So I'd like to share a couple of our key accomplishments from 2021 with you. So 2021 was a tough year for everybody with COVID. However, one of the things I'm most proud of is our staff who persevered and provided unparalleled, uninterrupted service as essential workers through the pandemic. So our staff can't go home. They couldn't work remote. And I'm really proud of how they adapted and showed up every day to continue to provide utility service to the city over the past couple of years, even with supply chain issues and staffing challenges. So like many of the businesses in the Valley, we haven't been immune to the changing employment and labor market. And a statistic I was looking up as I was trying to capture this is over the past 3 years, we've hired and replaced 57 public works employees. That's over almost half of our staff have less than 3 years of experience with us. So that means we do a lot of hiring and training to get those people up to speed. So that was a considerable amount of effort that we undertook during the pandemic times. But in spite of the many challenges that we faced, I'm really proud of the service that our staff provided over the past couple of years. Another one of our significant accomplishments was related to our water treatment facilities. So one of the mayor's priorities was improving the quality of water that we delivered to our customers. And with his support, we were able to accelerate some of our water treatment facilities. And what these do is there's naturally occurring minerals that occur in our drinking water source. And while these minerals are generally not harmful, they can produce brown water, and we want to provide better service than that. So we have, over the past 5 years, installed 5 of these treatment facilities, and we currently have 5 more that are in design and construction. And we've seen a reduction in brown water calls of over 94% during this time. So they're working. And that's a really important thing for us and our utility. So as I transition to some of our key initiatives that we're working on over the next year, one of our primary goals is to improve customer service to our customers. And we have a couple of ways that we're working on that. And one is through our AMI meter reading system. And so what this does is it will allow us to read our over 50,000 city water meters eventually with the click of one button from our water division facility. So currently we have to drive around every street in Meridian to collect this data. As meters reach their end of life, we replace them with meters that have this technology, and we have about 50% of the meters in the city are able to be read by this technology. Where that impacts customers is it will allow us to have much smarter leak detection capabilities. So if a customer has a leaky toilet or a pipe under their house has a slow break and it's slowly leaking, we'll be able to see that sooner and at a higher resolution, which will save the customer from potential water damage to their house, and also high utility bills from all of that water, and ultimately conserve that water. So it's a really important initiative that we're excited to continue to move forward. On our wastewater treatment side, so this is our facility out on 10 Mile. We're currently under design and are planning for several improvements that will help further reduce odors from our facility. So we treat and process over 8 million gallons of raw sewage at that facility every day. So minimizing our impact to the surrounding neighborhoods is really important to us. We're also installing, this is a pretty cool piece of innovative new technology, a side stream phosphorus treatment facility. So that's a big, long word, but essentially what that will do is will help us meet our really strict wastewater discharge permit limits. And what's really cool about this is we will be one of under 25 facilities in the entire United States that has one of these technologies installed. So we also regularly monitor and model the source of our drinking water in Meridian. So we get our drinking water in Meridian from the deep underground aquifer. And what's important for us is to monitor this aquifer for both quantity and quality. And we want to make sure that we are not having negative impacts on our current and future water supplies. So when we drill wells, we install test wells, which allow us to pull samples from all the different levels of the aquifer to show and monitor what kind of impact we're having on that aquifer. We're also planning to have a water supply workshop this spring, and we're going to bring in industry experts from across the state to further talk about water and the water nexus, and share with us the state of water supply in our area. However, the good news is that all of our monitoring and planning and modeling show that Meridian is in a really good spot to be able to provide ample water to its customers now and into the future. So the topic of growing our services, so it's really important from a public works and a community development perspective that we grow responsibly in the city. So we promote the idea of contiguous growth, meaning that we prefer the city to grow from the inside out, expanding our services in a planned fashion. So one of the main drivers, like Bruce talked about, for development is having access to water and sewer. And so what we do is we make strategic planned water and sewer investments in different priority growth areas in the city, expanding growth responsibly into those areas. So we're currently under design for infrastructure improvements in the northwest area of Meridian, which will help bring development into the Fields District area. Those improvements include sewer lift stations and sewer main lines. And then further out in our plan, we plan to expand and extend sewer lines down McDermott Road to the south, further expanding our development potential into that area. So another important element of what we take care of is our utility rates. So it's important that we ensure that Meridian's water and sewer rates, as well as the connection fees that people pay to hook into our system with a new house or a new connection, remain fair as well as sustainable. So we're currently completing a cost of service study to evaluate Meridian's water and sewer rates and connection assessment fees. So we have not increased utility rates in Meridian in nearly 7 years, and this is a significant accomplishment, as many other cities in the valley have had to resort to large increases as well as bonds to pay for some of their utility expansions. This is a true testament, I feel, to Meridian's significant planning and regular evaluation of these rates and fees to make sure that they're sustainable to fund our utility infrastructure needs into the future. So when we complete this study, we'll be back in front of council and the citizens of Meridian to talk about any potential impacts that that study might have on rates going forward. And on a more fun note than utility rates, we're planning to bring back a really fun activity this summer, hopefully. It will be our 13th annual Public Works Week. And so this is a week in June where we get to showcase our utility employees and the really cool equipment that they get to use. And they get to show to the community and public what they do every day in their jobs. So we're excited to try to bring back at least one element of this event, our Public Works Expo. So we're planning that for June. It's a really fun family event. If you have kids, there's a lot of fun activities for the kids to come and see how water is made and where water goes when it's used. So we also have a pretty active social media presence. So I'd recommend that you subscribe or follow us on any of these posts. It's a great way to stay up to date on not only just public work stuff, but city activities in general. And then we have some of our direct public works contact information up here. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. I have a couple of our other key department managers too to help if you ask really tough ones. And with that, that's all I've got.
Actually, are all the links that you showed on the screen on the website somewhere so we can go look at them?
So I believe they are. I don't know if they're as organized in that one spot, but I was gonna let Stephanie, our communications manager, take that one.
They are all on our website, yes. Yeah, without all of the verbiage, you can just click the image and it takes you directly to the location.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Lorelei, and for the service that you all bring to the community. And that kind of brings us to our third presentation today. We heard from him at one point in time when he first came on. Our fire chief is now, just remind him his 1-year evaluation is due. So we're gonna be working on that here before too long. But he's had a good first year, and part of that first year was putting together a new strategic plan for the fire department. Now, I know police and fire often, there's a long-running jokes between police and fire, but I think the most interesting joke that's here tonight, or not joke, without the work that Lorelei's team does, the fire department couldn't do their job to put out the fires. So it starts with the water over here and the hard work that they do. You know, Bruce's team has to help make sure the development goes in. Lorelei's got to help make sure that the fire hydrants or whether city infrastructure can get the water there before the fire department can come along and do their job that we hope they never have to do. But with that, Chief Bloom, if you'd like to come forward and talk about the future of the Meridian Fire Department that you guys worked on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and everybody who's in our audience and our audience online. I think to start with, as the mayor indicated, I've been very, very privileged and fortunate to be closing in on my first year serving the community of Meridian as your fire chief. One of the things that I promised, one of the things that I told to the community of Meridian as well as our internal department members was that we would complete a strategic plan. And I think that the importance of a strategic plan is, as you will see in this video that we're going to show here in a moment, is it provides the community as well as the department a dashboard and a horizon. It lets everybody see where we are and where we intend to go, and the plan is how we intend to get there. And I think that outside, when I was coming into this agency, I was astonished to find that, you know, this agency and this department hadn't completed one in 11 years. And I felt that due to the volume, velocity, and speed of development that this community has had, it's only reasonable and responsible to kind of place Meridian Fire Department on a place on a map, and then to have that vision of what we were going to do in, moving forward in the future. So today, the Meridian Fire Department on the website, on the City of Meridian's website, you can now go and access the plan that we're going to discuss, as well as this video. And I guess we can watch the video real quick. And then I just would like at a very high level to discuss a couple of the points about the strategic plan, and then leave it up to you in the audience and you online to go and explore and enjoy your Meridian Fire Department strategic plan. The importance of a strategic plan is it basically is a foundational document for not only the membership of the organization or people that join our membership, but also for the community and for our elected officials and for neighboring communities to see what that dashboard and the horizon for what Meridian Fire Department is all about, where we are and where we intend to go, and more importantly, how we intend to get there. We took input from our community members that came in and gave us an inside look of what they expect from their Meridian Fire Department. But then we also looked internally within our organizational membership and asked the same question.
You know, we don't show up on a fire or on any emergency for that matter without a plan. And this is that kind of operational piece that makes sure we're going in the right direction. We're able to deliver on that promise that we made our community.
We had everybody from a 20-year ladder captain to a 1-year firefighter that just wanted to be involved in their Meridian Fire Department. So it's extremely encouraging that we had 15 members from the organization participate in its creation.
We are in a unique position that we have these opportunities afforded to us to be part of, growing this department and seeing and shaping where this department goes. I raised my right hand to provide for this community, and I want to make sure that we're doing it the most efficiently, way possible.
All right, so that video is actually embedded in the strategic plan. It's a clickable link, so you can watch that again in the future should you choose to. But then now to talk about the strategic plan that we completed and some of the high points and some of the drivers of why we did the strategic plan and some of the things that are really significant. And I think as I just talked, we can just kind of scroll through some of the pages so you can see the images, the graphs and the charts. And as I see them pop up, I'll discuss them. But one of the first ones is the need to expand the level of service to continue to meet the evolving needs of the community in a fiscally responsible manner. And one of the things that's really noteworthy is year over year, and 2021 being no exception, we had over 15, almost 18% increase in the volume of calls. And very noteworthy, for the first time in Meridian Fire Department's history, we had over 10,000 apparatus responses to emergencies in the community. Those were medical calls, those were fire calls. We had the highest number of residential and commercial fires in the history of Meridian in 2021. So what we see is a projection, a course, and that course is going to be more calls for service from the community, and Meridian Fire Department needs to be in a position to manage and mitigate and take care of those. And that happens on a multifaceted approach. It's not all about emergency response. Oftentimes where we're looking at now is how do we reduce risk and how do we prevent injury, accidents, and illnesses from occurring in the first place. And so that's the money best spent. And part of our plan addresses the prevention, mitigation, and reducing risk to our community before an emergency has an opportunity to take place. One of the things that's also really important is you noticed in the video, I said that there were 15 members from the internal agency. Well, we had over 24 members from the community. Were department directors from the city of Meridian. Those were fire chiefs and fire officials and police officials from this community as well as neighboring communities. Everybody from real estate agents to business owners were all part of crafting what it is and what the expectation is for the Meridian Fire Department. And some of the things that came to the high points of that, and as we could kind of scroll through here, And I really think that it's important that we just talk about right off the top of the bat, the most important, the things that were essential, critical functions. And the first one that the community felt was important was ensuring the maximum level of safety for their firefighters. That was a community input. That was what the community wanted from their firefighter, or from the fire department, was to make sure that we were taking care of the people that were in charge of responding to their emergencies. The second thing that they felt was most important was adequate staffing, equipment, and the apparatus to run on those calls. And then a third one, which was very noteworthy, was adequate, appropriate response times to emergencies within the community. And so we work to manage those times, and we put that on our horizon with an understanding of how do we do this in a fiscally responsible manner moving forward. And now I don't want to get into all of the goals and all of the minutia of the plan, but the very high level strategic focus areas, these are the ones that I'll just briefly touch on with in the remainder of the time that I have, is our goals and strategies got broken down into, first and foremost, looking at our staffing model. How do we continue to onboard people into this agency? How do we correctly and appropriately staff the stations and the fire trucks and engine companies so that they're ready and able to respond to the community? The second piece under our strategic focus area is developing the organization and also developing the personnel within the organization. We're looking at succession planning models and providing professional development opportunities for everybody from the first-year firefighter to the fire chief. How do we continue to develop our people in the roles that they're currently in and aspire to in the future? The third piece is looking at our emergency services. When we look at our response, how many calls for service we go to, over 50%, closer to 70, actually 70% are emergency medical calls. So we need to continue to look at how we enhance our emergency services to the community, the response model, and make sure that we are appropriately staffed, equipped, and trained to deal with those. A fourth area is dealing with training. If there's a foundation of the fire service, it is in training. Training is a perishable skill set. You can't go to a fire academy one time 20 years ago and still think that you're proficient at the craft. This profession evolves and it is ever changing, and so too needs to be the training that goes along with that. The fifth piece is data and technology. There's a quote that they basically says, if you don't have data, all you have is an opinion. And so the fire service needs to have credible data, credible information, because not only is it useful for the fire department, the community demands it, and rightfully so. They want to know, are we appropriately staffed, correctly funded, and utilizing every dollar that the community is sharing with their fire department for the best benefit of the community? And data is the path for us to capture that and present that. The sixth piece is commonly referred to now in the fire service as CRR. It's community risk reduction. Community risk reduction is what the fire department and public safety, looking at my police chief counterpart over there, is all about. How do we prevent the 911 call from happening in the first place? If we want to talk about spending money and allocating resources, it's in not having a 911 emergency in the first place. There's another aphorism in the fire service that says there is no honor in putting out a fire that could have been prevented. So our ability to correctly address emergencies before they happen is the best money that we as an agency can spend on behalf of the city of Meridian. And the final piece is communication. One of our challenges that we're looking at through the strategic plan is how do we internally and externally communicate our message to our community as well as the members of the Meridian Fire Department. And so if we look at those two things, communicating clear, honest, open pathways of communication with our constituents as well as with our brothers and sisters that we serve with, that is how we responsibly and are able to get our message out. And that's what we need to do. And in fact, that's probably what I'm able to do right now, is communicating with the community as well as our agency through the strategic plan. So that's what we have. That's where it's at. It is on the website. We started off ambitious. We thought we were going to do a 5-year strategic plan, but we realized responsibly with the speed of how fast things are moving in the city of Meridian, a 3-year plan was most appropriate. We feel that within the 3-year time frame, we're going to accomplish our goals that we've set out to accomplish, and a 3-year time frame is the most appropriate and responsible period of time for us to engage this plan in. So again, I would stand for any questions if anybody in the community or online has any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, I was looking, when you were talking about educating the public, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I know you say it's online, but how do you get the people to actually go there online and look at that information and learn about it?
Well, there is the challenge. And so I think that, like we talked about communication, we've been very fortunate. We have a great communications manager that's standing right next to you. We also have a brand new public information officer. And one of the things that we're doing, working with our new public information officer, is making those avenues of education accessible and useful. Well, probably most importantly is useful to the community. And so that's one of the things that we're absolutely working on. And I appreciate that question, because that's going to give me a talking point that I can follow up with our public information officer.
So kind of follow up to that, if you have, like if you have the fire stations around the city, and if there was something that said, hey, come on in and talk to us, or not sure what's going on there, but you know what I'm saying, as far as like a sign that says, we're here to talk to you if you want to learn more about us. Is that the kind of thing you're thinking about, as well as obviously putting something out online? Or
Well, so I think that communication is, we have to be multifaceted. There are people that do not use social media, and so we would be missing a demographic. We'd be missing a section of our community if we only relied on social media. So absolutely. I know that we're fortunate we have our public education division chief in the room with us this evening. And that's one of the things that she actually does very proactively, is have signage out, whether it's internal communications with the city, or actually in front of the stations. In fact, the vehicle that she drives around has safety messages put on there, but we're absolutely would be more than receptive to any ideas you may have about how we engage all of the community.
and this doesn't have to do with that, but are there communities like homeowners associations that have private hydrants? Or are they all public?
That, you know something, that is a great question. Within the city of Meridian, they are all, actually, I could look at Laurel. Actually, I know that there are some places that do have privately maintained hydrants, but I would actually love to call my counterpart in Public Works up on that one.
Great question. So in Meridian, the majority of the hydrants are public hydrants that we maintain. It's pretty neat. We have a really robust geographic information system, and what that does is marks every single hydrant in the entire city. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's close to 12 or 14,000 hydrants in the city. They're all numbered and labeled, and we have them on a map that not only our staff can use, but also the fire department. So when they pull up on scene, they can easily identify where the next closest hydrant is.
Is that good? Okay, thank you.
So that gives you a preview, and it's very interesting. We have 4 new directors in the city over the last 2 years now in the room, and you heard from 3 of the 4 of them this evening. The 4th is our police chief, who we've heard from in the past, and you're going to hear from him later because he's doing just what the fire chief talked about. They're going to be starting on a strategic planning process in the police department as well. So I expect that we'll see them back at some point in time in 2022, provide an overview about what they are going to be focused on moving forward. We also have our Parks and Rec Department that's currently in the process of working on updating their master plan for our facilities. So throughout this process, from the city's strategic plan that we adopted at the start of this over a little while ago, about a year ago, when we adopted that, and we've been working on that. A lot of our departments are updating their plans as well that are helping move us forward to follow our philosophies of save before we spend so that we can do it prudently in the most time necessary and cost-effective way possible. And that's the good work that your city employees are doing for you all here in the community. I'm happy to open up to any general questions. If anybody has any general questions that wasn't covered tonight that is on top of your mind, in whether it's online or in the room, we'll take a second. And if I can't answer it, like I say, we've got other smart people in the room that can do that. From our legal team is here, and we'll just see if there's anything. Well, then with that, we're going to go ahead and end early. Just want to, again, thank Bruce, Lorelei, and Chief Bloom for their presentation this evening. There are some upcoming events and activities that we are continuing to move forward with the city, which includes a coffee with the mayor in February, as well as the defensive driving class for those age 55 and over that we'll be putting together. And you can always learn more just by subscribing to the city newsletter to keep up to date on things. So thank you very much for your time and attention this evening, and have a wonderful evening.